You do not remember joining. That is the thing about this particular cult. There was no ceremony, no moment where someone handed you a document and said, "Sign here. This is the belief system you are agreeing to. These are the rituals you will perform. This is the amount you will tithe monthly to maintain your membership." It happened incrementally, gradually, in a series of individually reasonable decisions that each felt like progress, like the natural expression of having worked hard enough to deserve something better than what you had before. The first apartment upgrade, the first car that cost more than transportation requires. The first restaurant where you did not look at the right side of the menu before deciding what to order. The first vacation that required a specific credit card to feel affordable. Each initiation ritual felt like a rival. Each one permanently raised the floor, the minimum acceptable version of your life, in a way that could not be walked back without feeling like retreat. That is what lifestyle inflation does. It does not take your money dramatically. It raises your floor incrementally, until the floor is so high that the income required to maintain it consumes every raise, every bonus, every income milestone that was supposed to finally create the margin that never quite arrives. My name is Mia. I spent years inside financial services, watching the lifestyle inflation cult operate with the efficiency of a system that does not need to recruit, because the culture recruits for it. Today, I am showing you the initiation sequence, the tithe structure, and the specific exit that does not require you to become a different person. Just a person who chose the floor deliberately instead of having it chosen for you. Let me show you the cult's onboarding sequence, because recognizing it is the first condition of leaving it. The initiation begins at the income transition, the raise, the promotion, the first real job after the entry-level grind. Any moment where income increases and the brain registers the increase as permission, the specific, neurological, documented permission slip that additional income produces in a brain that has been operating in scarcity mode long enough to interpret relief as license. The permission slip does not say, "Spend more." It says you have earned more, which means you deserve more, which means the version of your life calibrated to the previous income was a temporary condition rather than a permanent one. And the upgrade is not indulgence, it is proportion. The new apartment is proportionate to the new salary. The new car is proportionate to the new professional identity. The new restaurants are proportionate to the peer group the new title places you in. Proportionate is the cult's most powerful word, because proportionate makes every upgrade feel like accuracy rather than aspiration, like you are finally living at the correct level, rather than exceeding it. And the correct level keeps moving. Every income increase produces a new correct level. Every correct level costs slightly more than the previous one. The floor rises, the margin stays approximately the same. This is not accidental. The cult has a theology, a belief system so embedded in the consumer culture infrastructure that it does not require articulation. The belief, your quality of life should visibly reflect your income level. That visible reflection is not luxury, it is appropriate. Anything below it is either temporary or evidence that something has gone wrong. The theology is the trap, because visible reflection is expensive. And the cost of visible reflection compounds across every income transition until the income required to fund the reflection consumes the margin the income was supposed to create. Here is what staying in the cult costs annually, in the specific calculable, avoidable dollars that the lifestyle inflation floor extracts before the margin can compound. The housing tithe. Each apartment upgrade in a career typically adds $200 to $500 monthly in rent, across 3 apartment upgrades between 22 and 35. A conservative estimate for a mobile professional in a major market, the cumulative monthly housing cost increase is between $600 and $1,500 above what sufficient housing required. Annually, between $7,200 and $18,000, tithed to the lifestyle floor instead of the investment account. The vehicle tithe. The transition from a paid-off used vehicle to a financed new one produces an average monthly payment of $530, maintained across a career through sequential new vehicle purchases. The typical pattern for someone in the lifestyle inflation cult, the annual tithe is $6,360 in payments plus interest. On assets that depreciate, on a cult ritual that costs the equivalent of a full Roth IRA contribution annually for an asset that loses value every month. The social tithe. The peer group that comes with each income level has a spending baseline calibrated to that income level. Participation in the social infrastructure of the new tier, the dinners, the events, the travel, the we should culture of a professional environment, costs proportionally more at each tier than the previous one. The social tithe is the least visible and the most consistent, because opting out of it feels like opting out of belonging, and belonging has a cost the cult never quotes directly. Combined, the 3 primary tithes, housing, vehicle, social, consume between $15,000 and $30,000 annually for a household earning between $60,000 and $100,000. Money that does not compound, money that does not build, money that maintains a floor the cult raised without asking for consent. Here is what leaving the cult does not require: deprivation, Asceticism, living in a way that performs poverty to prove financial virtue. Moving to a smaller city because the math on the current city never works. Explaining your choices to a peer group that interprets the choices as judgment of theirs. The exit requires one thing, a deliberate floor. Not a floor the culture set. Not a floor the peer group established. A floor you calculated, based on what your actual life requires to function at a level of genuine comfort, not performed adequacy, and then held. The deliberate floor exercise. Write down the 3 largest fixed monthly expenses: housing, transportation, food infrastructure. For each one, identify the minimum version that produces genuine comfort, not the impressive version, the comfortable version. The apartment where you sleep well, cook real meals, and do not feel embarrassed to be. The vehicle that moves you reliably. The grocery budget that feeds you without deprivation. The gap between the current version and the genuine comfort version, if one exists, is the monthly tithe available for recapture. Not immediately, at the next transition. When the lease ends and the renewal negotiation happens. When the car note clears and the replacement decision arrives. The exit does not require walking back the current floor. It requires not raising the floor at the next opportunity and redirecting the tithe the floor would have consumed. Every raise captured before the lifestyle sees it. Every lease renewal that does not upgrade automatically. Every vehicle decision evaluated against transportation need, rather than social signal. Each one a small exit from the initiation sequence. Accumulated across a career, 3 to 5 transition moments where the floor held instead of rising. The recaptured tithe represents hundreds of thousands of compounding dollars that stayed in the account instead of funding the ritual. You did not choose the cult consciously. You were initiated by a culture that does not announce its membership requirements, just raises the floor incrementally until leaving feels like failure and staying feels like the only rational interpretation of having worked this hard. You are not behind. You've just been reading a map drawn by the people who want you lost. Hit subscribe because next week I am inside the wealth gap, the specific, compounding, documented advantage of financial inheritance, and showing you what building without a head start actually looks like when the floor was never yours to begin with. And I'll leave you with this. The cult did not ask you to join, it just raised the floor. Every time you earned enough to afford the exit. Choose the floor deliberately this time, and watch what happens to the margin.